Well, a big day for Seeda. It's our very first podcast, and I'm delighted to welcome our most important customer, Jannah, to this lovely podcast studio here in Sydney, Australia. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having us, Michael.
And Issa from the team. So just to make introductions, I'm Michael, the founder of Seeda. Elisa is our Chief Product Officer and Head of Marketing Scientists. And I'll go over to you guys for introductions as well.
Yeah, I'm Adam, Head of Marketing at Jannah.
And I'm Krystal, the Brand Manager. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming in. So I guess let's start at the beginning, as good a place as any to start. Tell us a little bit about Jannah.
Yeah, sure. Jannah started in '98 with one store out of Western Sydney in a suburb named Granville. And it started with the whole idea of our founders in mind, Andre and Carol, whereby they wanted to challenge status quo when it came to chicken and how chicken was cooked. We as Australians know chicken as rotisserie chicken, but charcoal chicken was something new and exciting. And since that day up until today, the prime objective has been of this business is to make sure that we stay and remain true to our quality, our taste, our abundance, our generosity, and the morals and ethics that abide us by how we operate within this market. QSR is a term that gets used across the board for any business whatsoever, but I don't see us as a QSR. We are redefining what quality food looks like in a fast food setting. So that's where we are today. We're currently at 41 stores, growing at a rate of about one every 14 days. So opening rapidly. That tells us that consumers, customers and guests around Australia are loving what they're getting. And we're excited to take this on to bigger and better things.
Thanks, Adam. And we know the brand we know today is doing some really cool, exciting, innovative marketing, but it hasn't always been that way. So just in the last few years, you've really ramped up your marketing activities. Do you want to take us through maybe a little bit of the background?
Yeah, most of our marketing in the past has been word of mouth. The food has always spoken for itself. In the last, I'd say, year and a half, we've reignited what marketing looks like, not in the traditional sense, but what it means for Jannah, focusing on our communities, focusing on things that are important to us. So we've gone through a complete tech audit of where we are today, understanding what we need to do. How do we make sure that we are touching each customer in a way that is personalised to them? Opposed to what has been done in the past is just relying on the fact that customers will walk in. That there is an important piece. More and more QSRs today would probably agree that customers are now frequenting their businesses via a digital space of some form. So that's where we were and that's where we are today.
Okay, thank you. So we've had the pleasure of working together for about 9 months now. What led you to reaching out? We're Seeda are a modern marketing measurement specialist, and we focus on marketing mix modeling. Where did it all begin? What were some of the frustrations that led you to reaching out?
In the world of food, and especially quick service restaurants, the customers that don't come through a digital space are quite hard to measure. So someone coming up to a counter or coming through a drive-through is quite hard to understand who this customer is, where they've come from, how have they reached that restaurant location. And with the likes of the goal was to understand, one, what are we doing in market today to better understand who our customers are and how to reach them more effectively. A lot of marketers would have in the past questioned their marketing effectiveness from not so much a digital standpoint because all the metrics are there, but from traditional sense, and making sure that from a traditional sense and a digital sense together, they work collaboratively.
Okay. And our flagship offering is if you remember way back in September 24, our 60-day proof of concept pilot. If you recall that period, because you're growing so fast, you're very busy. What was it about the pilot that led you to, what benefits did you see? What problems were you trying to solve? And then why has that led you to deciding to partner with us for the longer term?
Yeah, obviously when someone comes to you, it's always a skeptical. What are they trying to sell me? And I think that the 60 days allows you to take all that out and go, do you know what, there's no really financial burden if we don't want to proceed. There is a small fee, but then that fee then gets quantified with what the results you would get. In that 60 days, our questions were, how do we effectively use our marketing fund? It was at probably within 4 months of us initiating a marketing fund within this business. And every franchisee wants to understand every dollar goes where and what is the return. So understanding that was of crucial importance and is till to today.
Okay. And what was one kind of thing that you got out of that initial proof of concept that led you to signing a longer term partnership?
I think it would be, where do we spend money to get the most return? Understanding those metrics was the most important thing for us. We can make assumptions from time to time, radio, out of home, PR, whatever it may be, but we never really know unless we can actually have tangible results that back it up. And that's what MMM does.
I'm going to add in too, sorry, it's also just a nice holistic view, whereas normally we work across several different agencies, multiple channels, so we're getting bits of information separately, so it's nice to see the complete fund working its magic kind of thing.
Okay, thanks, Krystal. And that's a good segue. Yeah. And Elisa, I'll hand over. We do have some brand questions if you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I think one question that comes to mind is, you guys are in a very crucial position. On one side, you're promoting the brand, you're doing a lot of work on the marketing, but you have a lot of people also to answer to. I guess you have CFOs maybe asking questions. You have your affiliates that want to understand how the marketing is spent. How do you manage all these relationships and justify the marketing spends and measure the brand performance?
To be honest, you guys make our job a lot easier doing that. There's quarterly business reviews with our finance partners. There's weekly meetings with our executive team. And the results that we get back from MMM showing what we're spending across each channel and actual tangible results from that helps a lot.
Okay.
Shish, that's a soundbite. You make our life easier. Wow. We're done, Nick.
We're done.
We're finished.
Thank you, Krystal.
That's perfect.
And over the course of, let's say, the 9-month period, was there, you make our lives easier, was there one kind of thing that jumped out at you that you could point to with MMM?
Most recently, I think our comparison from our Ramadan period this year versus last year and the efforts that contributed to that, and seeing the uplift year on year was a really great visual image and something that we were proud to put across the executive team. So that helped a lot.
Great. So for the audience, Lebanese style chicken, a bit of a slump in that Ramadan period. Year on year, you see the business go down, quite a bit. What sort of results were you able to kind of see from MMM?
We saw a 5% uplift year on year, which was fantastic to see. That was across all our marketing efforts and the advice that was given by MMM on how to effectively spend the marketing fund in the months leading up to Ramadan and then across the Ramadan period as well.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bit of a shout out to our partners, Supermetrics. So, Krystal, you mentioned that we kind of bring everything together and show you what's happening and what you could do better. Supermetrics are what fuel our products. So I just wanted to shout out to the team that they help us to make your lives easier as well. Elisa, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, maybe talking about like more traditional ways of measuring marketing. I think we tend to sometimes fall into some of the vanity metrics of looking at impressions, looking just at the ROAS from each of the partners. But again, I think as was mentioned, it's not very holistic and difficult to compare. How has this more siloed view of looking at marketing changed since the last 9 months?
In the past, a marketer would always look at key identifiers when it comes to a digital space, being one, what you said, CPM, to ROAS, reach, unique reach. The goal is that the information is siloed. Siloed for a couple of reasons. One, every digital channel would want to attribute that sale or that impression to themselves. Whereas when you look at it from a non-biased perspective through the likes of Supermetrics and the Seeda team, then you start to look at it as a entire team of effort. The example that we use, it's like a soccer team. And if Meta is the midfielder can't score a goal on his own, or therefore they need the likes of other mediums in order to achieve that. And how we pitch this internally is think of it as a team. They all work together collectively, not one works without the other. And how do they work together in order to achieve the results? Some players on that team are going to be far more effective than others. Others aren't. However, you need those people on the team to bring it all together. That is the way that we talk about it internally. So in the past, to answer your question, it was siloed, and now so it looks at how do we do things together and what are the total effects of that.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned franchisees earlier. Maybe I know we did a deep dive a few months ago on proving the ROI of the marketing budget to all of the franchisees
yes.
and how that's working.
Yes. So when you stand there and you talk to people about, and you beat your chest and you go, well, this is what we've achieved. Sometimes it gets taken with a pinch of salt. When you seek the experts in that field to speak about it, it adds a lot more value to that comment. By us showcasing the efforts of the marketing team towards our franchisees, it allows them to see that we are not fluffing the numbers in any way, that these numbers are true in all their essence. It looks then at each medium and where their money is going, therefore showcasing that the marketing team is constantly optimizing spend in order to get the best results for them, both from a local standpoint, but then also at a brand level.
Great. You're quite a colourful character, Adam. And one of my favourite reactions about 6 months ago was when we used our technology to measure how radio was performing. This is traditional radio, in-car, in-home radio. And if you recall, 6 months ago, we were giving you the run through of how radio was performing and how we saw it going up and down. And you had some quite colourful reactions to that. Would you mind, recapping?
Michael, you keep asking me about questions. I can't even think about what I did yesterday. But let me remember. I believe the conversation was, how do we measure radio? For everybody that listens to the radio, radios come through radio waves, and yet Seeda's sitting there telling me that this radio ad has reached X amount of people and therefore resulted to X. I'm still today trying to grasp how this works, because in order to explain MMM to certain people, you need to explain it in a way that they understand it and consume it. For me, at that point in time, I couldn't understand how can you attribute a radio ad to a conversion of sorts. When we explained it further, you guys sat there and told me, well, think about it like a series of dots. And when a dot comes online, it starts to flash and we start to follow that dot. That there started to give me some more confidence. Reading more about MMM, how does it all come together, I think is where what we discussed on that day. But please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. And you initially I could see it in your eyes, you were skeptical. 6 months later, when we've given some recommendations and you've taken those, you've implemented those, where are you today with your skepticism?
I don't think you want me to answer that question, Michael. Maybe ask Krystal. The thing is when it comes to anything like this, because it's new and different, you need to make sure that the relationship between such a service and a brand like ours is that we are quite new in the technology sphere. So therefore, there's always going to be skepticism around the product itself. So by us keeping closer to each other allows me then to speak the same language that you guys speak to us day to day. That there has become better over time because as I understand it and Krystal and my team does, then we can go out with confidence and answer the questions that come at us. The questions that I ask you are probably quite robust in sense, but you can only imagine the quantity of questions that come back at us from that one deck that we put together, for example. So as this relationship prolongs, I think that relationship gets stronger and stronger. We get to understand how you guys work, you get to understand how we work, and then we can start to tackle the things that are most important to us.
Great, thank you. Lisa, if you want to jump in.
No, that's amazing. I love what you said about, making that bold move of changing to MMM and having, a close look at what you're doing, but also doing something that most of other people in the field aren't doing. Maybe from, your experience, how did you come through that process to decide that MMM was the right solution for you? And what would you say to other marketers that are in that process of deciding of, sometimes some companies might spend, millions or billions of dollars in marketing, but don't really have an honest look at what their performance and what's actually happening. How would you advise someone to go through that process for the first time?
I'd make this easy. When you buy a car, you look at all its features. You never go into a car yard and go, I'll take that one. And when you're spending someone else's money, then you got to take the same respect and pride in that. And for a small fee to make sure that you can honestly say that this is what we're doing and this is the returns of what we're doing is the goal here. When you compare our spends to the likes of other spends across the clients that you work with, that might be miniature in nature, but the goal here is make sure that what you spend and what you get back is open. So therefore, there's nothing to hide. And for a small fee, I don't think that's a question that should be asked. It's like anything.
Okay. Thank you. Do you want to keep going, Elisa?
I think we talked about like opening all the new stores, and it's quite a rapid growth. How are you managing all of that? I guess it's a very busy schedule for all of you, and how are you supporting the store openings with marketing initiatives?
In quite a lot of detail, actually. We've got a few team members within the marketing team, but across all departments really helping with the new store rollout. Yes, we are in a huge expansion phase at the moment, opening to Adam's point one every 14 days. For new store openings, we support them across every channel, depending on what the franchisee wants to invest or not. Social, search, digital out of home, the likes of all of that, as well as obviously quite a lot of community involvement as well. We're going into new markets, so need to educate about the brand and who Jannah is and how to consume it. So yeah, it's quite across the board.
And as you do that, Krystal, how has MMM given you confidence on what you need to be focused on?
To the same way that it is doing for the brand. So we're looking at specific local markets and which channels are performing which way, and basing our budget percentage-wise on what works.
Okay, cool.
Specifically on the brand, I think sometimes for people, it's easier to measure everything that is online, and you get a more direct impact in what you're doing. But often we miss out on the more demand generation or long-term channels. How do you manage to still to continue to advocate for more offline channels and prove that they are building the brands maybe at a different pace than the online channels, but with the same impact?
Yeah, based on the results that you and the Seeda team are giving us is the most clearest way to see that. Investment into out of home, which you don't often get measurable results from, same as radio, so anything above the line. It's great, to Adam's point, seeing which channels we're switching on and if they're working or not. Yeah, it's been fantastic to see even just our radio performance, as we mentioned earlier, performing and continuing to invest in that channel. especially on a longer term basis as well.
Great. Going into a period, next financial year is coming up in Australia. How, this is the first time you've done MMM, you've been doing it now for most of the current financial year. How has MMM and the Seeda offering changed the way you're going to approach the next investment period?
So when you guys supply us with the ongoing sales of the network, because you guys have access to all data points within our business, and then you overlay seasonality and you start to look at the peaks and troughs, that allows us then to go back and look at certain weeks, certain months that we need to overinvest or underinvest. Some of the insights that have come from that pre-March period was spend more in the December, January period in order for us to bolster up our efforts in the trough that we saw in March. And by doing that, we saw, like Krystal said, a 5% increase year on year. And that's what we're trying to ultimately achieve, is to make sure that our troughs is not as shallow as they have been in the past, and our peaks are higher than they have been in the past. And that's the ultimate goal, is to look at like-for-like sales and transaction growth. That is what every business in our industry works off. More transactions, more customers means more success.
Great.
No, I guess we have 2 minutes left. I was just wondering what's next for Jannah. What is the next big moves that you're going to make?
The next big moves for us is trying to reach more customers around Australia, open more stores, talk to people about what makes us unique and different. We are a QSR that strives ourselves on quality and freshness. We are a business that cares about food and food quality, so much so that we own completely our own supply chain. We deliver to stores 6 days a week. We brine in-house. We do all the things that everybody probably doesn't know of yet, but these are the things that we're going to be talking about in the next 3 to 6 months. One, who isn't readily available to Jannah and how they can get access to it and why they should get access to it. And two, what makes us unique and different in an ever-evolving industry.
Last question, I promise. So
Please.
closing remarks. So you're the CMO of a very prestigious brand in Australia. What advice would you have to other marketers in a similar situation to you around the world of modern marketing measurement?
I'd say that every marketer wants to make sure that they have a nice mix of art and science. The art side is easy to achieve when you have creatives around your team or externally. The one thing that every marketer sits there and contemplates is, what am I doing? Is successful, yes or no? And that obviously gets broken down to execution creative as alongside optimization, everything else. But the goal is every marketer sits there and questions themselves to say, is this the right path? And as a marketing leader, you have to make that decision finally. And sometimes you get it wrong and sometimes you get it right. With MMM and with the Seeda team, you can at least know that the part of optimization of marketing spend is effective.
Great, thank you.
There you go.
And Krystal, same question to you. I'll just tee it up again. You're the brand manager of a high growth brand in Australia. What advice would you have to other marketers with your experience in using MMM to grow that brand?
Gosh, I feel like Adam covered most of it, but it's just having the confidence moving forward that you're making, the right decisions. With the marketing fund, to your point, Adam, it's other people's money. So having that confidence to go back to them and report that things are working, and the things that aren't working, we're switching off essentially. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
We're just out of time. It's been an absolute pleasure to welcome our favorite customer in for our first podcast. Thank you for your valuable time, and let's wrap it up there. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks for having us.